Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the happiness space. It's been a while again, and I'm going to tell you why. Actually, it's been a few weeks since I even wrote this last podcast script. So, my intention is that it's going to last for about half an hour. Could be longer, could be less. Depends how much rambling I do in between. So I don't really know how to ease you into this one, to be honest, because it's raw, it's real, and it's recent. Well, it's still ongoing, to be honest. This episode is coming to you not from comfort or from certainty, really, but from resolution. It's from the in-between. That space between what's collapsed or what's not yet built or being built. So, yeah, I'll start 6 weeks ago, shall I? Which was 6 weeks ago. It was the 23rd of June. Which may be a bit longer than 6 weeks now. So I left the house I was living in with my husband, and it was his mother's house. And I became, in every technical sense of the word, homeless. Somehow it has become one of the most grounding, eye-opening, and soul-returning experiences of my life. That might not make any sense, but hopefully as the podcast goes on, we'll unravel a little bit more of what I mean. But I put myself in such a vulnerable situation. So a year ago, a little over a year ago, my partner and I decided that we would move back to his hometown. We wanted to be near his family. This was a joint decision, although I can tell you that it was something that I really, really wanted. I've always wanted to return to live in Spain. So yeah, that's what we did. And I'm going to begin with the house that wasn't a home. So we weren't living in our home. We were living in Aitor's mum's house. So that changes everything. Because, when you're living in someone else's world, under someone else's roof, with their rules and their rhythms, their routines and their energy, you can't really build your own space completely. So you imagine we had this dream when we came here. It was a couple of months of not working just so that we could really enjoy, after living so long in London in such a stressful environment. That was our plan. We had longer term goals as well. But unfortunately, it seemed almost immediately we got there was this control happening about when we were going to get jobs. That was the main thing. I don't think it was really understood that we didn't want to work for a while. We wanted really to enjoy ourselves. And it seemed like we had to argue for the life that we wanted to live. And I couldn't understand that. Two married people, wanting to be in a certain way for a period of time, yet it seemed we weren't allowed to be. So yeah, it was her house, her standards, her preferences and her ways. And don't get me wrong, we could be, to a degree, ourselves, but there was so much, it seemed, that just posed problems, buying things, bringing things into the house, the way that we cook, when we cook, what we eat, how many laundries we do, how long we're showering, if we're leaving lights on, even for a matter of a minute, it was picked up on. And I began to realise that, I was living every day trying to avoid doing something wrong. Like I say, too much laundry, too much electricity, too much time in the shower. It didn't feel like we were working together. It felt like survival. And for me, I felt like every day I was a guest, overstaying their welcome. Because it seemed like things that I would do would be questioned. And yeah, I just have never lived like that. And I don't know why people would want to control people so much in that way. We can decide to disguise it as care if we want, but I'm not having that. When you care for people, it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of not wanting to cause harm. So that's how I know that all of this was never about care, because it caused me nothing but harm. I used to wake up at 6 in the morning. I adapted to this whole situation, not with confrontation, although I've had to have words with my husband on many, many occasions to try and get him to just emphasise the gravitas of the scenario with his mum. And I didn't do this with conflict. I did all of this adapting with absence. So I would go to the beach at 6:30 in the morning to meditate. Then if I knew my husband was still at home, I'd go home and shower and then go back out. I'd walk, I'd breathe in something that felt like mine, and then I'd stay away all day, returning like when I knew that either Aitor's mum was going to be in bed, or I knew that I could just go straight to the bedroom and just sleep. I wasn't living there, I was avoiding being there. And let's just remember, guys, that I was there paying my share of everything equally. There were 4 of us living there, and the bills were split 3 ways. And I paid my share equally, on time, every time. I didn't borrow money from anyone. I don't have any debt with anyone. And I think that's an important thing to establish here, especially the differences in cultures, although I'm not sure it's a cultural difference. I was told by my mother-in-law that I was to keep my money separately and my husband was to keep his money separately, and that way we'll have no issues. I'm not sure in what world that actually works, in what marriage, in what partnership that actually works, because I don't think it worked for them. So, when your entire existence becomes about minimizing disruption, you realize that it's not a life, it's not a home, it's not a partnership, it's not what we dreamed of. You start erasing yourself from your own life. And, it sounds really silly now, but for me, the final straw came about laundry. My mother-in-law had gone away for a few days, and when she returned, it was crazy. It sounds ridiculous as I say it now, but it really was the laundry that broke me. Aitor and I had been out the day that she came back, and the first thing that was said to us was, well, not even to us, and this is my point, that I'm being gaslit because I'm being told that I wasn't there when this was said, which was very interesting because, I was there. I heard it. Why has he done more laundry? I did all the laundry before I left. And the first thing that I thought was, are you kidding me? We're talking about laundry again. Okay. And then I realised that I wasn't even being talked to. I was being talked through. So my husband tells me that I wasn't in the room when this conversation happened. But that was it, No hello, no how are you, no welcome. Just a reminder that even doing laundry was somehow too much. And this was, the most ordinary moment, but it was the last one that I could carry because it wasn't about laundry. It's never been about laundry. It's been about control. It was about never feeling allowed to exist comfortably, and surely we all have the right to live in comfort. I don't think that I did anything that was disrespectful or unkind. And in fact, I confirmed this with my husband and he agreed I hadn't. Then I couldn't understand where this was coming from. And the only thing now, well, as we move on to the podcast, through the podcast, it's going to become a bit clearer, but I don't think I'm liked. I don't think I'm the one that's wanted for her son. So yes, imagine being in that situation where you have a husband who has his mum as his main priority, beneath himself, of course, and possibly what she wants is more important than what I want. That's how it feels. So I had to take the decision to leave. We didn't speak for a couple of weeks after that scenario. There was no attempt to kind of speak either, I didn't leave in a fury. I didn't leave with fireworks. I explained to my husband that morning, I can't stay here anymore. This situation with how anxious I am, with how I'm seeing a nutritionist, a psychotherapist, a GP. I'm on medication. I've developed this anxiety-induced eating disorder since July last year. We only got here in April. That will tell you something. I'd dropped from 90 to 70 kilos in 6 weeks. So at this point, my doctors had said to me, your body and I was really worried about my organs, my internal organs. At what point are they going to be affected? I could deal with the skeleton that I was becoming, or that I was. I could deal with that. I couldn't deal with it. I could accept it. And I tell you, I couldn't deal with it. When I saw myself in the mirror, I looked hideous. And I said to my husband many times, I hate what I'm seeing. I hate it. In September last year, I'd asked my husband to have a serious conversation with his mum. Later down the line, I understood that serious conversation was, can you stop with your comments because they're annoying? Yes, that was the extent of the conversation. So nothing really changed from September. And looking back, I think September was when I should have gone originally. I shouldn't have allowed myself to stay in that environment any longer. Especially considering the goalpost kept moving about when we would be leaving. And it was always the reason you don't have a job. Bugger the fact that I had money, it was the fact that I didn't have a job. That was the problem. So yeah. Anyways, I stepped out. I couldn't stay one more night. So I told my husband that day I was going, and he said to me, what are you expecting me to do? Pack my bags and go with you? And I said to him, actually, no, I'm not, because I know that wouldn't happen. It should happen, but I know it wouldn't. So that's what happened. I left and I began sleeping on the beach. I couldn't be in that house. I couldn't be with that version of myself. And so I stepped out into the unknown. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a place. I just had my bag and my intuition. And, knowing that if I didn't go now, I would lose myself entirely. That's how I felt. The doctors had said to me, if you get to 65 kilos, your heart will need to work harder, but the internal organs are quite resilient. I didn't want to get to a point where my heart has to work harder, so I took the decision. I was losing a couple of kilos a week. So in theory, if I'd have stayed, by now, I could be at that 65 kilo point. But people fail to understand that is the reason why I left. So yeah, it wasn't freedom, it was preservation. I felt homeless, but I felt free. And for the next few weeks, I just stayed where I could. A lot of the time was at the beach, sometimes in the workshop, and sometimes I didn't even know until the last minute where I'd be sleeping. But what I did know was, as the days went on, the anxiety became less and less. I started being able to eat a little more, and maybe not necessarily a little bit more often, but certainly I was able to eat a little bit more. And I say a little bit more in the literal sense. I was sleeping okay. I used to wake up with these very negative thoughts, and I was losing that. And I started to feel again like myself. And I'd met with friends, and they said to me, "Oh my God, we thought we had lost you, and now we are seeing your light returning again." It blew my mind that I had more peace sleeping on a beach than I had in a house with my husband, with a roof, with a kitchen, with a dinner table, because that peace was mine. I was no longer shrinking. I was no longer being monitored, and I was no longer waiting for the next criticism. So we come back to this husband now, what my husband did or didn't do. We didn't speak much at first. I left and he continued on. I didn't feel like there was much, "Where are you? Are you okay?" No real genuine concern. It's almost like he knew I was going to be okay, so he wasn't too bothered. I don't know how, but that's certainly how it felt, because there was no attempt from their side to find any accommodation for me. Not that I was wanting them to, but gestures and actions show how you care. That's important for me. It took weeks really before we actually started seeing each other properly. So this silence in between, it was just so much louder anyway than anything you could have said. I felt like I didn't recognise my husband. I felt like there was a complete 180 in who he was. And I'm sure that he will disagree, and I'm sure it will get spun on me, or I'm sure I'll get gaslit because it's happened recently. But, we're still married and we're still trying. But trying without a shared space is very hard. Trying when you don't make an effort to see each other every day is even more difficult. And trying when one person has rebuilt peace and the other hasn't is harder. And then trying when you're not sure that they truly want it. That's the hardest of all, because you feel like you are really wanting to work at it, but it really feels like it's not being returned in the other way. So I had to begin then reclaiming myself. So since I left, I now eat when I'm hungry, within reason. I'm still with the eating disorder. I really am. Yesterday and today I haven't eaten anything. Saturday I don't think I ate anything. I'm sleeping all right. I go to the beach to feel and not to hide anymore. The anxiety is so much less, and the overthinking has been less until more recently. But the sense of being watched or judged, gone. Because this person is no longer a part of my life. We haven't spoken since I can't remember. I received a message, which was a message that was completely lacking accountability and was just full of excuses, and it just didn't resonate with me at all. Nothing in it felt sincere for me. I've gained 2.7 kilos. It feels like a bit of validation that I am restoring not just my soul, but in my body as well. Yeah, I'm still doing my volunteering at the charity. That's been an absolute lifeline for me. And even though things have slowed down a lot in August, I still show up because it reminds me that I'm still a part of something good. So, what is freedom really looking like now? It's not wild or reckless. It's very quiet, actually. It's gentle. It looks like space. It feels like a slow morning. A home where no one's energy overpowers yours, and a place where, dreams really can breathe again. Although I'm having real difficulty motivating myself to focus in on those dreams right now. So yeah, our next dream now then is to find a space just me and him where we can begin again. And it seems like we might have found it. A place where we're not borrowing walls or dodging opinions, a place where we can co-create together, where we can commit properly, and where we heal what's broken and not pretending that it's just a crack. If you're in it, guys, if you're in this situation, then this really is the podcast for you. So please hear me. You don't need more permission than your own exhaustion. If you've been hoping that things will shift and they haven't, then believe what's already happened. It's not going to change. It's not going to shift. Those people are stuck how they are. You're not too much, you're not too dramatic, and you're not ungrateful. Do I need to tolerate how somebody treats me because they've provided me with a roof? No. Because if it wasn't for their son, that roof wouldn't be for me. Don't wait for the perfect plan, guys. When you're done, and that's okay. Don't wait for someone else to offer you peace. Sometimes peace just starts with that terrifying decision, followed by one honest day at a time. And then, here we are. We are now the 18th of August. I have recently started to feel more anxious again. And, I think I'm recognising that I'm still not priority for my husband. I'm not. Nothing they have done has shown me anything that says, you know what, before others, I'm putting you. That's what priority is, isn't it? And it doesn't need to be all the time, does it? But it needs to be on occasion when you need support, when you need help, when you're asking for it. Those people who are supposed to be at your side, they should be giving it to you. And if you're not getting it, rethink again your situation. Are you truly where you need to be? And if you're not, begin to start planning your next steps. And remember, it's all about what is bringing you peace. You cannot compromise your own happiness for the sake of others' happiness. That doesn't need to be how life is. Life is about creating happiness together, sharing happiness together. And if there are people who aren't capable of creating happiness with others because they are driven just by selfish motives, that should be all the information you need, guys. But here, I don't have all the answers at the moment. I'm still with 9 days left in this temporary home. I don't know what's next for my marriage, to be honest, I don't. I know that from the 1st of September we should be moving in together, and I know that I'm feeling so nervous about those moments. I should be feeling happy to have somewhere to go. But I have this week in between where I'm not going to have anywhere to live. And in that moment, I know that I'll be left to return to the situation I was in before. And my husband will return to his mum. That's just that. So I don't know what healing looks like in the long term. I can just know that what it looks like now is helping. And having setbacks, it happens. Sometimes you wake up and you think, is this Is this really the day for me? It has to be, guys. Set your intentions. Give yourself one task the night before and say, this is what I'm going to do when I wake up tomorrow. And get up and make it happen. Remember, remind yourself that your future self is watching you. Your future self, where all your successes are, is there, driving you on, pushing you to make the best of these moments. Okay? What I do know is I've never been more honest, more present and more awake than I am now. And this happiness space, this storytelling, this truth sharing is a reminder to me that I'm still building my happiness space, even in a transition. And if you're in a transition too, then come along. You're not late. You're not broken. You are just becoming. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for being a part of this today. I really hope what I've said has resonated with you. Please do share the podcast, continue to like, subscribe and follow. And this one is going to be published on YouTube with an accompanying video. So in the meantime, guys, keep building your happiness space and I will catch you again next time. Take care for now.